Hello all out there in YouTube, it is I, in a hoodie covered with dog fur. So yeah, I'm still in the middle of my long stint of dog sitting, and I apologize for the current location I'm in. I'm dog sitting Millie for a while. Here's a video of her chasing her tail while upside down on her back. She's a very talented little dog. But anyway, so yes, I do apologize for being in this weird area. You can see the glare in this picture back here. This house, this was the only time I had to film something for this week's video, and a lot of the windows in this house were causing glare, and a lot of the other locations have a bit of an echo in them. This room might have a bit of an echo as well. It's not as bad as the rest of the house, so I do apologize. It's just, at this period in time, which was my only time to film something, this was the best location to do it. But on that note, this was an idea I've wanted to do for a little while here. My 7 deadly sins of horror movies. We all have certain things that bother us in movies, whether they be some kind of cliches, a certain element of movies that bugs us, characteristics that certain characters in movies have, you know, these various little elements that bother us when it comes to movies. They're things that when they are in movies, it can take away from our enjoyment of that film. Not saying we can't enjoy a movie that has one of these elements, it's just that it does tend to bother us after a while, and the more elements that we don't like that are in movies, the more chance it is that we're not going to like that movie. And these aren't just relegated to horror movies. They can be in any genre, whether you're a comedy fan, an action fan, a drama fan, a musical fan. There's elements that bother you about certain movies. So I decided it would be fun to do a list of my 7 deadly sins of horror movies. I'm a horror guy, so I'm going to focus on the horror genre. I might talk about a few other movies in different genres, but we're going to try to focus mostly on horror here. I just thought this would be a fun little video to do for all of you guys, because a lot of people ask me why I don't talk about more movies that I dislike. It's because I have a hard time talking about stuff I don't like. I'd rather talk about movies I like than movies I don't like. But, hey, I might as well do this here because it sounds like it could be fun. I got them all written down on my phone here. 7 deadly sins in no real order. It's when we get to the final 3, those are the ones that bother me the most. The first 4, they bug me, but I can still get past them and enjoy a movie. And again, this is just my personal taste. We all have different tastes. We all have different things that bother us in movies. So, again, I thought this would just be an entertaining video to do. So, let's get to it. My 7 deadly sins of movies, starting with the first 4 that are bad but don't ruin a movie for me, and then the final 3 that really, really get on my nerves. So, for the number 1 deadly sin of horror movies is not killing off likable characters. This is something that personally gets on my nerves. When you have a movie or even a TV show or something, and they have characters that you really like that are in danger of something, but the filmmakers are too afraid to kill any of them off. Now, I understand in a TV show you have a status quo, you have characters that you need to follow throughout the film, but there can still be characters that you like that they should not be afraid to kill off. And this is especially important in horror movies, thrillers, and action movies. Again, creating likable characters and having the guts to have them die in the film or TV show. And the reason this is so important, especially in the horror genre, is because in the horror genre, death needs to matter. There needs to be a reason for the audience to be afraid. There has to be stakes. And if you have all these unlikable characters and you're afraid to kill them off, I don't care. It's like, I don't care what's going to happen. Okay, I know they're going to be okay by the end of the movie, so I'm not going to feel any tension. There are no stakes. It's one of the reasons, and spoilers for whatever movie I'm going to talk about in this video, just to be on the safe side, because I am going to spoil certain movies here. It's the reason why Scream 2 is my favorite sequel in the Scream franchise. Because in that movie, they kill Randy. And I loved the character of Randy. I mean, we horror fans identified with him a lot because he was the horror nerd, just like many of us are. And you kind of wanted him to live. You wanted him to get with Sidney in a way, but in Scream 2, they killed him off, and it was a bloody death. And that's why I love Scream 2, and it's my favorite of the Scream sequels. They killed off a likable character. I did not want to see him die, but that's why it was good that they killed him off. After he dies, it gives a reaction from me, it gives a reaction from the audience, and now, again, it leaves an impact. Now there are stakes. Hey, likable characters can die. And going into TV for a little bit here, the TV show Hannibal. I don't watch a lot of TV for various reasons. I'll get into that another time, but there are some TV shows that I am curious to watch, and I wanted to see the Hannibal series because Hannibal Lecter is my favorite character. And I wanted to see how someone else handled the character. And Mads Mikkelsen, he did a great job as Hannibal Lecter. The problem was, as the series went on, and as we went from the second season to the third season, there were a lot of people that looked like they had died in the second season, and they came back. They came back in the first episode of the third season, and that bugged the hell out of me. Not that they brought back characters that I thought were dead, but the amount of characters that they brought back that we thought were dead. Like, are you serious? Every single one of these people that was essentially left for dead in the ending of the second season, they're all alive? Every single one of them? Again, no stakes. There's no impact there. Why do I care what's going to happen? These characters are clearly never going to die. No matter what happens to them, no matter how abused they are, how many times they're stabbed, shot, getting things in their brains and shit like that, they're gonna be fine. Every character is like Rasputin, so I don't care what's going to happen. So, yeah, the first of my deadly sins is being afraid to kill off likable characters, especially in the horror genre. If you're going to make a horror movie, make your characters likable and be willing to kill them off. That's how we, the audience, are going to be put on edge. And the number 2 of the deadly sins is loud, obnoxious dialogue. This is an instance where there's a few asterisks after this one. Loud, obnoxious dialogue is not going to completely ruin a movie for me, but it will get on my nerves. And I'm talking about the horror movies or movies in general where the characters are constantly yelling their lines. They're not just saying their lines, they're yelling them at you, they're screaming them at you, they're shouting them at you. And that's just annoying to me. I don't know a single person who likes to be yelled at all the time. I don't know a single person that likes someone getting in their face and saying, "Yelling as loud as humanly possible." I apologize for that. I got a little too close. Back off. Now, I understand in certain situations when people are panicking, they're all going to be shouting, they're all going to be yelling. But when it's just people hanging out and everyone's shouting, I compare it to being the only sober person at a party. You know when you're the designated driver and everyone around you is drunk and they're being loud, they're being obnoxious, they're constantly saying shit that they think is funny, but it's not. It can be grating. It can be very grating being the only sober person at a party, and that's what it's like when all the characters are yelling at you. And that includes when characters, every other word in a sentence is the word fuck. Now, I respect Rob Zombie as a filmmaker. I liked House of a Thousand Corpses. Devil's Rejects is my favorite movie by him, and I enjoyed Three from Hell to an extent. The rest of his movies I have a bit of an issue with, and one of my problems is his dialogue, where every other word in the sentence is fuck. I have no problem with cursing in my horror movies. It's perfectly fine. But when every sentence is filled with all the curse words and stuff, it's annoying to me because it takes so much longer to get to the point in certain situations. And I've heard people make the argument that that's more realistic. People curse all the time, and they curse that much all the time. I'm not going to say any names here because the people who say this I truly respect and I love watching their stuff, but the argument was made, hey, listen to us when we talk. We use fuck all the time. We curse all the time. And they say that, and then they go on for a few paragraphs without cursing that much. You know, they'll go on for like 5-10 minutes and they'll only say fuck maybe 3 times. Kind of disproving their argument in their own video. But anyway, again, I'm not knocking anybody here. The people I listen to I have a lot of respect for. This is just a civil disagreement. When people are yelling all the time, like all the time in a movie, and they're constantly saying fuck shit in every sentence, it's annoying to me, but I can get past that if the movie is well done. It's just something that gets on my nerves, and if you combine it with other issues that I have with a movie, it's really gonna tank the movie for me. And our number 3 deadly sin of horror movies. It's such a cheesy title, but I'm going to say it all the time because who doesn't like a little cheese? My third deadly sin, the unnecessary twist. This is another asterisk one because I can still enjoy a movie that has an unnecessary twist. It's something that just bothers me. When a movie is going along and it's going very well, but at the end of the movie they decide to put a twist ending to it where a twist ending is not needed. If they just ended the movie, it would have been satisfying, but they decide to throw in a twist ending for no real reason other than to say, hey, gotcha. There are good twist endings, and I'm not going to give any examples of movies in this because I do not like to reveal when a movie has a twist ending. But there are movies that put in a twist ending for no real reason. And you can tell that the movie wasn't setting up to a twist ending. You can tell that a good twist ending, there are little clues throughout the film, and then when it happens, you're able to piece together how we got to this point. A bad twist ending is there's no setup throughout the film, and then it just happens. Or, again, like the movie will just have a twist which kind of ruins the rest of the movie. You know, like, there are twist endings where you find out that a character was dead the whole time. That can work, but there are also times where it cannot work. There are the twist endings where it looks like it's some kind of supernatural being going after these people, and then you find out, oh, it's just a regular crazy person. Again, that can work, but there are also times where it cannot work. And I wish filmmakers would think about this and say, okay, if we put this twist ending in there, is it going to piss our audience off? A perfect example of this, and again, I'm not going to give any spoilers, I'm not going to spoil any movies in this case, but in a movie where it's revealed that someone has a split personality, and that's revealed at the end of the movie. Now, I personally think that in a situation like this, your movie could be so much more suspenseful and so much more frightening if you reveal that that person has a split personality at the beginning of the movie. Here's a perfect example of this, and I don't mind saying this because this is not a twist ending. We know this from the beginning. There was this Asian movie, I think it was Korean, I'm not 100% sure, but it was called Neighbor Number 13, and we're following a guy that has a split personality. And they tell you right from the beginning of the movie, this guy has a split personality. And same thing with, I'm not a big M. Night Shyamalan fan, but I did like the movie Split. And that's about a guy who has multiple personalities, and they tell you that right from the beginning of the movie. And again, that's so much more suspenseful because you don't know who you're going to get. Are you going to get the nice guy, or are you going to get the crazy guy? I don't know if I made too much sense there, but yeah, the unnecessary twist ending bugs the hell out of me. And here we are with our number 4 deadly sin, and this is one that people have certain arguments about, and not everyone agrees with me. There are people who agree with me, but there are people who disagree with me, and I'd like to provide a counter-argument to the one I hear all the time. My 4th deadly sin is unlikable main characters. Again, asterisks is after this. Having unlikable main characters in your horror movies can work in certain circumstances. For example, if we're following the villains, this is where I'm going to praise Rob Zombie in The Devil's Rejects. In that movie, we're following the villains, so of course they're not going to be likable. We're being forced to identify with the bad guys. You see that in Maniac, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, various other horror movies, where the reason the movie is so scary is because we're being forced to identify with a bad person, and that can be done in an interesting way. And it can work to have an unlikable character who's not really a villain if you make them an entertaining asshole. Like Herbert West from Reanimator. We can all agree that he's not a good person, but he's so entertaining to watch. And this can also work if you're trying to make a movie humorous. If you're making a horror comedy, it can work a little more to make your main characters unlikable. But what I'm talking about is in a movie where we're supposed to be rooting for the people, where when we see them, we're not supposed to want to see them die. We're supposed to be on edge because these people are in danger. That's when I can't stand it, when every character is unlikable. You see this mostly in slasher movies and stuff like that. Now, having one or two unlikable characters in a slasher movie is fine. Someone you want to see die so that when the kill happens, you're all happy and like, yay, that's a good kill and I'm happy this person's out of the picture. But when every character is an unlikable asshole, it's insufferable to me. And the argument I hear for this is, again, this is mostly in slasher movies, but you see it in other horror movies. The argument I hear is, who cares if these characters are unlikable? We're just here to see them die anyway. And that is true to an extent, especially in slasher movies. You go into a slasher movie because you want to see people get killed. You want to see the body count. You want to see the gore. You want to see the practical effects. You want to see the unique kills. So that is true to an extent. But here's my counterpoint. I still have to spend a movie with these people. I still have to hang out with them until they die. And in that situation, the only joy I'm getting in the slasher movie is seeing that person die. Which, again, you can make the argument that that's the point of a slasher movie, but the rest of the movie is insufferable when all the characters are unlikable. When you're just sitting there waiting for a character to die, you're not having fun. You're not enjoying the movie as much as you could be, because you're just being so annoyed by these unlikable assholes. You're just waiting for them to die, and then when they die, you're happy to see them go. What makes a horror movie suspenseful, what makes a horror movie scary, is not that the scary shit is happening, it's that the scary shit is happening to these people. And when you make your characters likable, one, you're okay even between the kills. You can still have a good time in between the kills because the characters are likable, you're having a good time with them, and then when they get killed, it leaves more of an impact. You remember the kill more when it happens to a character that you give a shit about. I do want to say this to anybody watching this. If you can get past everything I'm saying here, I'm happy. If you can get past unlikable characters, if you can get past the loud, obnoxious dialogue and enjoy the movie, great. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you can enjoy the movie. I want you to keep watching and enjoying the movie. I don't enjoy that stuff, so yeah, when all the characters are unlikable, again, unlikable characters can work, but a lot of times it doesn't, and that's when we're supposed to be rooting for the characters. If you can get past a movie with unlikable characters and still enjoy it, I am happy for you. I'm happy you can enjoy the movie. I don't like it when every one of my characters in a horror movie is unlikable. That's just me. And now we've gotten to the big three. The previous four, yes, these are issues I have with movies, and when there's more than one of those in a movie, it can ruin it for me, but I can get past them to an extent, especially if the movie's well done. These final three are things I cannot get past. If a movie does these things, I am not going to enjoy the movie. That's just how it is. So my number five, deadly sin, is stupidity being the only thing moving the plot forward. And what I mean by that is, the only thing moving the plot forward is characters making stupid decision after stupid decision after stupid decision. Now, I understand that when you're in a stressful situation, you're going to make some bad choices. That can happen. I'm not going to deny that. But what I'm saying is, when you're watching a horror movie and the only thing moving the plot forward, the only thing getting us from point A to point B to point C to point D, is the characters being dumb. A couple of mistakes, that's fine. One or two mistakes, that's okay. And it's not the same as when the characters don't know they're in danger. There's a difference between characters being stupid when they know they're in danger and characters being oblivious to the danger, so they're not acting like they're in a horror movie. They're not acting like they're in danger because they don't know they're in danger. You see this in the Friday the 13th movies, and I will defend this in slasher movies. When the killer kills somebody and then hides the body, and then someone goes into the house and is walking around the house, and everyone's yelling, "What are you doing? Get out of that house, you idiot. There's a killer in there." Well, there's no reason they would know there's a killer in there. The killer's being quiet, they've killed their victims, they're hiding the bodies. Of course they're not going to know that there's a killer in there. I'm talking about when characters know they're in danger and they make stupid decisions. Hey, there's someone trying to kill us, let's split up. Oh crap, there's a killer there, and there's the front door right there that I can leave out of. I'm going to run upstairs. And the reason this bothers me is because it's lazy. For me, that is lazy filmmaking. That is lazy writing. That's just saying, oh, we don't know how to get into this situation here. Let's have the character be stupid. There we go. That gets us out of it. That's why I praise movies like The Thing. Yeah, in The Thing, the characters make one or two mistakes, but for the most part, they make the right decisions. They think logically. Hey, what is a good decision to make sure we're all not in danger, and then things still go wrong. The Thing shows that you can have your characters be smart, but still have everything go wrong, and they can still be in danger. Another movie I like to praise is Return of the Living Dead. People say that in Return of the Living Dead, the characters make stupid decisions. I say no. I make the argument that the characters do not make stupid decisions in there. They make one or two stupid decisions at the beginning, but once all hell breaks loose, they're making logical decisions. Because in Return of the Living Dead, the infection that brings the zombies back from the dead is in the nerves, not in the brain. But all these people know is what they have learned from pop culture in zombie movies. So the first thing they try is, hey, there's a corpse that's alive and running around, so the characters say, hey, let's try to destroy the brain. It doesn't work. Okay, let's try cutting the head off. That doesn't work. Let's cut the body into teeny tiny pieces. That doesn't work. Let's burn the body until it's nothing but ashes. Now they end up doing that, and that ends up causing even more bodies to rise from the grave, but every decision they made makes sense. This is something that anybody would try. We gotta kill this thing, and we're doing all this stuff, finding out it's not working, going to the next logical step. That's why I praise Return of the Living Dead. But yes, I mean, so many horror movies, the characters are making stupid decisions, but I praise the movies where the characters are only making, well, not only, but mostly making smart decisions, and then the filmmakers find out how to move forward from there. That is smart filmmaking. And then we have my number 6 deadly sin, padding. You see this a lot in lower to micro-budget horror movies, and that's what bothers me, because I love to praise low to no-budget horror movies, especially the ones that, go all out with their idea. I love praising smaller budget horror movies. I have more respect for movies that do more with less resources than movies that do less with more resources. But there are situations when filmmakers are making a movie and they want to get it to a feature-length film. But for some reason in the writing process, they can't think of ideas to put in their movie to get it to feature-length, so they fill the movie with padding. And yeah, I've complained about this before on this channel. What I'm talking about with padding is people do long sequences where people are just walking around. Either they're just walking around the woods or they're walking around a building, and we're seeing this for a long, unnecessary period of time. Just people walking around, and not in an interesting way, not being filmed in an interesting way. Or we're watching people do mundane activities in an unnecessary amount of detail. Like someone's going to an office building. We see them pull into the parking lot. We see them park the car. We see them get out of the car. We see them walk to the front door, and then they go inside the building. And then we cut to the inside of the building, and we see them walk to the elevator, and then we see them get on the elevator, and blah, 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 blah. Again, lazy. That's lazy in my mind, just filling your movie with padding. It's one of the reasons why I did not like Don't Go in the Woods Alone. Don't Go in the Woods Alone has some great kills in it, but again, there's so much padding between the kills. One of the most notorious kills in the movie is a woman who's painting in the forest, and she eventually gets killed by the killer. But there's a scene where we see her walk to the river to get water in her jar, and we see her walk all the way back to her campsite. There's an interesting way to do padding, whether it's filming something in an interesting way, or, if you're having people walk in the middle of the woods, have some dialogue between them, have them talking about something. Or, again, you can have a slower scene in a movie, just have dialogue in there, or something happen that moves the plot forward. I just can't stand when people put long periods of nothing interesting happening between the action scenes or between the kills or something like that, because a lot of low to no budget horror movies get a bad rap. And there are a lot of great ones out there, but the ones that you have, these ones where they put so much padding in between everything, those are some of the movies that give low to no budget filmmaking a bad name. And if you can't make a full-length movie, just make a short film. And I know there's a lot of people who want to make feature-length movies, but what's better? Making a short movie that is interesting and well-paced, or making a longer movie that's boring and everyone's going to complain about how not much happens in it? Which brings me to my number 7 deadly sin. And the reason I'm saying this one now is it kind of goes hand in hand with the padding. This is the one that you hear me complain about the most when it comes to things that annoy me about movies. It's my number 7 sin, but this is the main thing that bothers me in any movie. You've heard me talk about it a million times, and that I talked about it in my review of Tombs of the Blind Dead that I did last week. When a movie does not take advantage of its idea. This one goes hand in hand with padding, because that's a perfect example of a filmmaker not taking advantage of their idea. Instead of having a scene involving their idea, they put in scenes of people walking around, doing nothing interesting. It just drives me nuts. It's like, you have a filmmaker who comes up with this idea for a movie, and whether it's a crazy idea or an idea that's on the simpler side, all they have to do is use that idea in their movie for it to be a good movie. And they decide to do nothing with that idea. And when the audience watches a movie like that, they feel cheated. This is another thing I see in a lot of low to no budget movies, and this is another thing that gives low to no budget movies a bad rap, and it drives me nuts because there are so many good low to no budget movies out there that do so much with what little they have, and they actually do something with their story. They actually have interesting things happening in their movies. One of the movies that I pick on a lot is the movie Ginger Dead Man. Now, I have no problem with crazy, goofy ideas in my movies. Again, all I want is for you to do something with that idea. That's all I care about. I just want to see effort put into your movie. Now, you have Ginger Dead Man, which the idea is you have a serial killer who gets killed and possesses a gingerbread cookie man. Yeah, okay, that sounds stupid, but it could be very entertaining, especially because they have Gary Busey voicing the cookie. So you have a gingerbread cookie man going around killing people. And that's about it. The fact that he's a cookie doesn't really come into play that much. You could have made the killer a killer doll, and it would have been the exact same thing. It's taking place in a bakery, too, and so there's one scene where a woman is knocked out and covered in frosting, but that's about it. They should have gone all out with it, you know, have him kill somebody by getting cookie cutters and cutting, you know, pieces of flesh out of his skin, have him use a rolling pin and roll a person out and to kill them that way. You know, it's a cookie. Have the fact that it's a cookie and have the fact that it's taking place in a bakery be a big part of the story. You look at so many other movies that, again, that take advantage of their idea. Now, there's the movie Gutterballs by Ryan Nicholson, and that does a few things that I don't like. That's a movie that has loud, obnoxious dialogue that bugs the hell out of me. But I give that movie a pass because it takes full advantage of its idea. This is a slasher movie that takes place in a bowling alley, and the slasher kills people with bowling-themed kills. I praise the movie for that. It has an idea, it's silly, but it goes all out with that. I've recently been checking out some shot-on-video horror movies because, again, I like to praise low to no-budget horror movies, and I've been trying to find some good ones. I haven't seen too many, but there have been ones that have bugged the hell out of me because, again, they didn't do anything. I always say a low budget is no excuse for a boring movie. This movie I watched a while back was called Alabama Sasquatch, and the back of the box made it seem like it was going to be a very entertaining movie. It said that you had Sasquatch versus Nazis versus some cannibal family. I looked at the back of the box, I watched the trailer, it looked like it was going to be cheap. You had this guy in a cheap-looking Bigfoot costume, and the gore looked like it was going to be cheap, but I was fine with that. I was like, okay, as long as they use their idea, it'll be entertaining. That's all they have to do. But there was a lot of scenes that didn't involve the Bigfoot. I will say that all the scenes of the cannibal, the Sasquatch, and the Nazis maybe took up about 10 minutes of the movie, in a movie that was either 90 or 80 minutes long. And I was pissed off. It was like, all you had to do was go through with this idea that you came up with, and instead you decided to do nothing with it. What the hell? Looking at another Bigfoot movie that, okay, is a so bad it's good movie. It gets made fun of a lot. Suburban Sasquatch. That is a movie that has gone down in history as a so bad it's good movie. The reason you watch it is because it's so poorly made. You watch it, you're entertained by it because it's so bad. The reason the movie is so poorly made and it's so bad is why it's entertaining. But here's the thing. Dave Waskovich, who made the movie, yeah, the movie's not good, but he at least had a guy in a Bigfoot outfit going around killing people. Yeah, the kills are very cheaply done. Yeah, the Bigfoot costume is so cheap and so goofy looking. Yeah, the acting is not the best. But he at least had a guy running around in a Bigfoot costume killing people. Basket Case is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's in my top 20 favorite horror movies. That's a movie about a guy with his separated, deformed Siamese twin brother in a basket, and they're going around getting revenge on all the doctors that separated them. Very goofy idea. And the filmmakers, Frank Henenlotter and company, they started out with $16,000 for their budget, and they had to raise money while making the movie, eventually getting to around $35,000 for their budget, which still is not much. And again, they had to raise this while making their movie, and they go all out with their idea, and it's so much fun. Yeah, it's cheap, it's cheesy, it's dirty, but it's great. And he goes all out with the idea. Father's Day, a movie that I praise so much. It's a very raunchy tribute to exploitation cinema by the boys at Astron 6 about this guy who's hunting down a serial killer who's raping and murdering fathers. The budget for this movie was only $10,000, but it looks great. I mean, they went all out with this. There's funny moments, there's disturbing moments, there's a scene where the characters go to hell. And yes, they use a green screen and stop motion for their version of hell, but it's a movie that has people go to hell with a $10,000 budget. That's incredible, and that should be praised. Doing so much with so little. That's what I love in movies, and that's what I love to praise. It's why I made the series Trash Reviews, to show some love for these low to no budget, sleazier movies that some people may not give a chance to, because the fact that they're so low budget and they're so sleazy, and they are made cheaply because that's what they had to work with. But I love when a movie puts in effort. I love when a movie tries. Like, I tend to grade movies on a curve on my channel. You've probably noticed this. I give some slack to movies that have lesser money when things are cheap and things are a little off. I'm much harder on movies that have a huge budget, because for me, those have no excuse to be bad. They have the money, they have the resources to make a good movie. But these smaller budget movies, they don't have the same resources, so that's why I tend to go easier on them. And that's why my biggest issue with movies is when a movie does not take advantage of its idea. Because to me, that's lazy, because I've seen so many movies with small budgets go all out with their ideas, and people are not watching them because there's the staple that low to no budget movies are shit. Yeah, they are cheaply made, but the people are putting so much effort into them, and they deserve to be praised. And that's okay, so that's my biggest pet peeve. People not taking advantage of their ideas in movies. My number one, well, not my number one, but my biggest deadly sin out of my 7 deadly sins of horror movies. So there you all have it. I apologize if this video seemed even more rambly than usual. Like I said, I've been very busy and I only had this period of time to make this video. I just thought this would be a fun idea to do. And I've been incredibly busy, so, but I still wanted to get a video out to you guys. So, yes, those are my 7 deadly sins of horror movies. And now it's for you. Leave your 7 deadly sins down below of the things that just bother you when it comes to movies. It doesn't just have to be horror movies, it can be movies in general. Because, let's face it, we all have our issues with movies. We all have our pet peeves. We all have those things that, when they're done in movies, it can affect our enjoyment of them. But I am one of those people who believes that it doesn't matter whether you like a movie that other people hate or hate a movie that other people like. It doesn't really affect anything. I can like a movie that you dislike. You don't have to watch it. You can dislike a movie that I like. You don't have to watch it. There's been a divide in film fans that is a bit of a shame here, because nobody takes into account that they don't have to watch the movies that other people like, and they can continue watching the movies that other people don't like. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video, because we're all film fans here, we're all going to have different tastes, we're all going to agree and disagree, but let's just, as horror fans, all just say, hey, let's just continue to celebrate the genre that we love so much. Again, I apologize for how rambly this video is, but I'll hopefully have a better video for you next time, and until next time, this is the Maniac here to remind you that the Grindhouse will never die.